This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
By 1990, no Australian child will be living in poverty.
Well, may we say God save the Queen, because nothing will save the Governor General.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
I want to do this long.
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians.
But we will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
People are entitled to their sexual proclivities.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not.
The Australian public does not want to see this place descend into a political coliseum.
Just sit down, Buffett.
Welcome to The Take. Hi, welcome to The Take. I'm Tish, aka Echo Echo. How we going, everybody? I am here to talk about politics once again. My channel, I usually do cover anti-MLM, but I have been more focused on politics at the moment. It is my side interest of my side interest, and everybody needs to hear about it. Well, you know, the less than 100 viewers who watch my channel. BT dubs, thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. And if you would like to hype, I wouldn't be mad about it. And especially because I am trying to expose people who they have been leading voices in the anti-Zionist space, and they had a guy come along and say Medicare for all or free healthcare, and then they didn't really care about anything else he'd done, even though he had served 4 tours and a tour with Blackwater Mercenary Squad. He's an imperialist and he's not working class, etc., etc. Graham Plattner, they supported Graham Plattner, making them all look like absolute hypocrites. And that's what I've been talking about. So I just did a video on Francesca Fiorentini, aka The Bitchuation Room. Couldn't fit it all in my title. You can only have 100 characters. And Francesca Fiorentini, The Bitchuation Room, that's a lot of letters, so, but you get it. And she has done work for Zeteo. And Zeteo is it's over a year old now. It's a news organization that was started by Mehdi Hassan, who I used to have so much respect for, who I used to think was, like, we're really lucky to have him on our side. He has been vocally supporting Palestine, and he came up with the term PEP, which is progressive except for Palestine, and I have hijacked that to say progressive except for Plattner. And yeah, and I feel like they have left Palestine behind so that they can get Medicare for all. And that includes supporting politicians like Zoran as well, who has, ever since he won the primary to run as a Democrat, you know, we all running as a Democrat. There's your first problem. But then whenever he won anything, so he won the primary, then he won the election, then he's like doing his inauguration, like every time he got to one point, he, you know, like backstepped what he was saying and doing. A few years ago, he was saying that Hakeem Jeffries was a terrible choice for the leader of the Democratic Party. And a few weeks ago, he's endorsing him on the Sunday shows. A few months ago, he was screaming at Tom Homan to, you know, leave New Yorkers alone. And then a few months later, he's kicking in with Donald Trump in the White House and they're having a good old laugh together. He said he was happy to have a Zionist in his administration, and he has more than one. And what I'm here to talk about today is Zionism. There is no such thing as a good Zionist. There are no good Zionists. There are no good Zionists. That is the thesis of this video, and I'm going to be talking about Zoran and Brad Lander as a case study of, like, it's like what they've done with him is they've put a little tippy toe back into the Zionism camp, right? Tippy toe. I didn't realize he was still a Zionist. I thought he was an anti-Zionist because he and Zoran cross-endorsed each other. They had done appearances together, and I thought that they were using each other to say, hey, look, we don't approve of the genocide. We are anti-Israel, like as it stands today as an ethnic apartheid state. And we're in this together because he's my Jewish friend who is also anti-Zionist. But he wasn't. Brad Lander isn't anti-Zionist. He admits to being a Zionist. And we're going to have a look at that whole thing. And it's not just Zoran, it's a bunch of other people who are pro Brad Lander. And they're going to hit us with a few things, all right? Purity testing. I just watched a documentary made by Al Jazeera. It's really interesting. At the top of the documentary, so it was called Investigating War Crimes in Gaza, Al Jazeera Investigations, and it has 2.5 million views, thank goodness, and 107k likes. Come on, guys, let's get those likes up. I will leave a link in the comments to go and watch it. It's amazing. So we're going to have a look at this Brad Lander and why he sucks as a candidate and why he is also exposing who these people are. The reason why I talked about that documentary is because it was devastating, and the whole time all I could think of was any type of Zionist is somebody who is helping to perpetuate this genocide. It doesn't matter if you're a soft Zionist or you're softer than the other guy Zionist. There's no good Zionist. It's just a fact. No good Zionist. So what is Zionism? Zionism is a nationalist movement that emerged in the late 19th century, aiming to establish and support a Jewish homeland in Palestine, which is considered the historical land of the Jewish people. It seeks to address the challenges faced by Jews in Europe, particularly anti-Semitism, by promoting Jewish self-determination and settlement in their ancestral homes. Yeah, Theodor Herzl. So this was starting before the Holocaust. So the whole, like, we needed a homeland for the Holocaust. It was happening before then. It was in 1896, and basically he was not a religious Jew. He was a secular Jew, which means that, like, they didn't really practice the religion. So there are two wonderful creators, Overzealots and Chris Kunzler, and they have done excellent videos on what is Zionism and, how has it been used. Oh, also Bad Empanada, Propaganda and Co., Spooky, Scary Socialist. Yeah, there's a few people who have done, like, really good in-depth definitions of Zionism. I just wanted to add this perspective of Zionism from a Palestinian doctor, Dr. Ghada Kami. She was, I think she said she was 9 years old or around about there when Israel was first formed, and she now lives in the UK and is an activist and has been involved in proposing the one-state solution for many years. She has confronted, Israelis, and I think it's really important to center Palestinian voices in this and making sure that we don't place ourselves above anyone else. We have to keep the Palestinians as the central conversation here. And yeah, so let's hear what she has to say about what her perspective of Zionism is.
I'll tell you, Zionism is evil. It is purely evil. It has created disasters, misery, atrocities, wars, aggression, unhappiness, insecurity for millions of Palestinians and Arabs. This ideology has no place whatsoever in a just world. None. It has to go, it has to end, and it has to be removed. Even its memory has to go.
So as you can see, the feeling in that is I can't convey with my words. I'm not a victim. This person is. And I think that it's a lot harder for these people who I'm going to be speaking about in this video to justify working with Zionists if that's the person you have to talk to, right? You're not going to do it. It's too hard. But if you're looking at a camera, like most of these creators are, what does it matter? You're not talking to that person. You're not taking away that person's identity and their land and who they fundamentally are. I know that, yes, Palestine may one day not exist because of Israel, but they will never, ever kill Palestinians. Palestinians will always exist. They cannot get rid of them. They will endure. And it's not fair that that's how they have to survive. Like, that's, and any sliding of Zionism contributes to wiping them out. And it's unacceptable. I was fighting with somebody in the comments, and they were saying about the Brad Lander thing, and just saying, like, he's a softer Zionist. Does it have to be like that? And I said, yeah, Zionism is the red line. I'm not going to fuck around with that. I'm just not. No, there is no good Zionist. So the October 7th attacks definitely made people look at what a Zionist was, and there are a lot of people who were liberal Zionists, which is like, we do want this Israeli state, but let's be nice about it. Let's be nice about it. Like, I don't want to kill anybody. They just have to move. Can you get them to move? Can you just get them to move, please? And the liberal Zionists are people who sort of like blame it on Benjamin Netanyahu. I will not call him by his cute little nickname. So this comes from the New Arab. So what is liberal Zionism? The liberal wing of Zionism sanitizes and revises the movement's reactionary settler colonials and white supremacist nature, masking its true strategy and motive of expansionism through apartheid and genocide. It deceitfully presents Zionism as compatible with human rights, containing a right-to-left political spectrum with democratic and progressive values and a desire for peace and justice. The facade sanctifies a peace process of futile negotiations, while Israeli bulldozers and contractors continue to colonize Palestinian land marketed in the US as Zionist land sales in synagogues. Zionism's liberal propaganda apparatus presents Israeli and Palestinian narratives as parallel truths, duplicitously portraying both peoples as victims with legitimate claims that require lengthy negotiations and concessions. This revisionist narrative equates Israeli settler colonialist aggressors backed by the global US hegemon with their indigenous Palestinian targets. In contrast to their portrayal as aligned with humanitarian and leftist values, liberal Zionists sanitize, justify, sustain, and gatekeep the Zionist project. Like, it's meant to look a little bit softer. We want to get rid of them. Yes, we believe in an Israeli state, but we just got to get rid of them. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to worry about it. It's just that they want to kill us. The perfect example of liberal Zionist is fucking Ethan Klein and Hila Klein. Well, Ethan Klein. But he pretends to care. I don't think Healer's just a rabid Zionist, right? But the point is, Zionists want an Israeli state, and the Israeli state is an apartheid society that has the Palestinians who it's their place, it's their land, and they want to kick them out. They want to abuse them. They want them to suffer. They kill children, women, non combatants. They bomb hospitals. And the whole time they're just like, well, look what you made us do. Look what you made us do. And Golda Meir has just the perfect liberal Zionist saying, which I've said before, which is, I will never forgive the Palestinians for making us kill their children. And there's this crazy belief that Palestinians and Muslims and Arabs don't care for their children like Israelis and Western nations. They don't care about, like, they're not normal parents. It's so insane. And I say all this to say that Brad Lander is a fucking liberal Zionist. And now we're going to have a look at some of his work. Brad Lander is the current comptroller of New York, which is the treasurer, New York City. He's the treasurer. Okay, so Francesca Fiorentini, who I did my last video on, she didn't say that she supported Brad Lander. And it's interesting because her husband's podcast, which I fucking love, and I'm a member, Patreon member, so I give them money. I love it so much. They break down Zionism, and especially liberal Zionists. And his wife is supporting a liberal Zionist. Like, what the fuck? And she's done it real sneaky because she's retweeted Prem Thacker, who works for Zeteo, and it is about Dan Goldman. And Dan Goldman is currently who is serving in whatever, the New York Southern, whatever. And that's who Brad Lander is up against. So Francesca retweets this, not as a support, but she just wanted to shit on his opponent, which, like, he didn't endorse Mamdani. Well, good, because Mamdani is a traitor to the Palestinians. He voted to censure Rashida Tlaib. He joined 148 Republicans to express disgust at South Africa's ICJ genocide suit, suggested the attack killing 100 plus waiting for food was a Hamas narrative, and he didn't trust the amount of kids killed in Gaza. Yup. But your friend, Brad Lander, he's also a Zionist. These are all bad things, and Brad Lander is also bad. So it was interesting that she chose to share that. Then we've got Zeteo platforming him. So politicians are delighted to weaponize anti-Semitism, to weaponize Jewish fear against Muslims, especially, but really against inclusive multiracial democracy. Brad Lander explains how politicians are weaponizing anti-Semitism to create more division. Is he also weaponizing anti-Semitism to fulfill Zionist goals? Is that also happening? And do you really want an inclusive multiracial democracy? Because that's not what you indicate with your actions, This is another excerpt from his interview with Mehdi Hassan on Zeteo. We're not going to fight anti-Semitism by proposing the expulsion of Muslims. Our safety is bound up together. And what he'd do differently compared to Dan Goldman if he was elected into Congress. So Mehdi Hassan has been quite vocally pro-Palestine, and now he's giving cover to this Zionist. He did an excellent debate with, what was that guy's? Elon Levy. It was excellent. He like he fought all of these liberal Zionist points of view, and now he's just letting this guy cover. And also, I haven't done it yet, but Zateo also supports Graham Plattner. The Israeli soldiers had rigged a can of food with an explosive. American surgeon in Ifan Galaria tells Mehdi Hassan about the Israeli military brutalization of children and what he witnessed while working at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. So you do care about it, right? But you're still going to platform a Zionist. So you care about this, but you're going to platform a Zionist. Okay. And we've been talking about Randy Fine a lot. Fine's presence in American politics does not just embody the moral rod of the Republican Party, but the tolerance for it from the Democratic Party. Prem Thacker reports, yep, it is full of all of those things. And so is the Democratic Party. Anyone who's a Zionist may not be as extreme as this, but they still believe in an Israeli state like that. Again, talking about, like how full of hate Trump and MAGA is, while also endorsing a Zionist and Graham Plattner, who may be a Zionist. Same here with this. If you're going to support genocide, period, there's actually no line that you wouldn't support. So Simone Zimmerman, who's amazing, Gazan Girl, that's her platform, speaks with Mahmoud Khalil about US authoritarianism and how normalizing genocide in Palestine has opened the door for oppression of all people. Great points, but Zateo looks like a hypocrite because they are platforming these good people who are anti-Zionist as well as promoting Zionists as being better options because they're less of a Zionist than another Zionist. It's terrible. Now, the other thing Brad Lander has done lately is he has, just like many other people, he has condemned the shooting of the Jewish people at the Hanukkah celebrations at Bondi Beach. Americans. Bondi. All right? Bondi. I. And I also condemn them. I think they're terrible. I hate that we've got mass shootings happening in Australia. And I especially hate that it's connected with Israel, because it is connected with Israel. These people, we don't know what their motivation is yet, but they obviously attacked people at a Hanukkah celebration, and they killed innocent people. There was a child who passed away. Nothing justifies that. Nothing. And that's happening very regularly in Palestine still. Can we reckon with that? Can we say, well, these 15 people who died in Australia, very bad, very sad. How many people have died in Gaza overnight? There was a baby who froze to fucking death. And I'm hearing about these 15 people. And there was some non-Jewish people who got shot as well. Now, these people, the first thing that happened was that Netanyahu came out and blamed Anthony Albanese. He doesn't even know the prime minister, like our prime minister's name, how to pronounce it. So how much does he really actually fucking care? He doesn't. He doesn't fucking care. He's going to use it for propaganda, which is what he did immediately. Immediately. He said, this is your fault for recognizing a Palestinian state. And it was not Hamas who attacked anybody. Hamas only exists in Palestine. They don't have any global fucking cells or anything like that. And those people, one of the rabbis is a rabid Zionist as well. And he celebrated the IDF going into Gaza to shoot people. Fuck that guy. I'm not sad about that. One less Zionist who was getting his congregation to give money to the IDF. It's so crazy too, because they don't need money from anybody. They're getting so much money from America. Australians don't give anyone money to go to the IDF. Anyway, Brad Lander is talking about the shooting in Bondi Beach, and it says, tonight, as we do every year, but so much more poignantly, we will celebrate Hanukkah in Grand Army Plaza with Chabad of Park Slope. Brooklyn's largest menorah will shine in memory of those killed in Sydney and to make sure their light never goes out. So, yeah, I think that's respectful. One of the people killed by the murderers in Sydney was Rabbi Eli Schlanger. He posted this message last Hanukkah, haunting and heartbreaking, and a very clear call to all of us, not to allow hate to win. And Rabbi Eli Schlanger says the best response to anti-Semitism, happy Hanukkah. What is anti-Semitic about want a menorah for your car or home window? DM me. So this was just for him to fucking sell shit as well. His rabbi, he was driving around with the menorah on his car. Like, where was the anti-Semitism? He lived in Sydney. There's a lot of Jewish people live in Sydney. But also Rabbi Eli Schlanger, diss you with the IDF the day before they went into to kill people. Diss you, and this is the guy that Brad Lander was saying was like, look at this stand-up guy fighting anti-Semitism. No, he wasn't. Look at him. He's kissing the IDF. He's kissing the IDF members. It says, by Zionist standards, the fact that this genocidal Zionist with ties to the Israeli rape army was eliminated justifies the Bondi attack. That's the standard they set in Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, Yemen, according to their standard. Anyone even remotely affiliated to or nearby one of their... Oh, I wish I got the rest of that one, Tish. Pictures of the Zionist rabbi who was killed in Sydney, Australia. I'm not sad about that man dying. Fuck him. And it says the Chabad rabbi killed in Bondi Beach. Australia terror attack has a documented history mocking Palestinian people as racially inferior and calling them Amalek and dismissing their documented horrors in Gaza as AI. Amalek. And Amalek is, I think that's killing everybody, isn't it? Amalek refers to it. It's a potent symbol in Jewish tradition of the enemy that must be utterly eradicated. So you have to get rid of them so that you can survive. Yeah, okay. And then AI and Pallywood, that's another one they use. The same Shabbat that Brad Lander is celebrating had a dance party at the Gaza border trying to prevent the entry of humanitarian aid, was present at the violent racist Zionist mob at UCLA, and brought menorahs into Gaza to celebrate genocide. Videos all linked below. Happy Hanukkah. Thank you, Chabad of Park Slope, for shining light in times of darkness and showing we will never yield to hate. So that's the original one from Brad Lander, and it says, among those murdered in Sydney is Rabbi Eli Schlanger. Earlier this year, Rabbi Schlanger's son, Nosan, became bar mitzvah, reading from the Torah that tied his family back generations both to devastating loss and to Jewish resilience. Last Hanukkah, Rabbi Schlanger urged people to celebrate boldly, to be more Jewish in the face of anti-Semitism. Our menorahs tonight will be Yahrzeit candles with grief for this grievous loss and rededication to shine brighter than slaughter and hate. Then the slaughter and hate that comes because of Zionists. And this guy, like we said, he's the guy who was there fucking saying, you beauty, let's go, kill. Amalek. Here's Brad Lander being against Randy Fine. Brave. What a brave man. It is so easy to put Randy Fine in there as being such an extreme voice, because anyone compared to him, even if you're still a Zionist, Brad Lander, you don't look as crazy or as extreme as Randy Fine. You look moderating and reasonable. You're the moderating voice. You're the reasonable voice. You're the good Jew. You're the good Zionist, right? Fuck that. He's still a Zionist. So I'm not sure where the screenshot went for this, but it was about how Brad Landers would not have voted to censure Rashida Tlaib. Great. You can say that while not being in the parliament, or not parliament, while not being in the government, not being elected. It's an easy one to say. I wonder what he would actually do. Is he saying, I want to get rid of Rashida Tlaib? No. And he's even saying, I would not have voted with the Republicans to censure Rashida Tlaib. Brave. So brave. But I sure would have already introduced a resolution to censor this bigot. And Randy Fine said, on how to deal with mainstream Muslims, I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first with fire, fire, fire. God, is he worse? He took over Matt, what's his fucking name? The guy who was going to be the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, Attorney General. Gross guy. Matt Gaetz sucks, but Randy Fine's probably worse. And he may be worse. In the Zateo interview, this is what Zateo has put as a promotion for the interview. He slams Representative Goldman as out of step with the progressive values of the district and with New Yorkers' desire for somebody who's going to really lead, organize, fight in this time. Fight for who, Brad? Fight for Zionists? Because he's doing that. In this wide-ranging interview, Mehdi also presses Brad Lander on a few things and discusses others. God, okay, cool. Why he wasn't chosen as Zoran Mamdani's first deputy mayor. And that is curious because that was definitely the talk before the election. And, people wouldn't have been mad about it. They clearly got along. And the other, it just looked like that's what he was pushing for, right? And then he goes and chooses this 74-year-old guy who was in the Bill de Blasio administration. Somebody maybe New Yorkers have heard of, but not anybody else. And I haven't heard many people speaking out against that because when they're talking about Graham Plattner, do they speak out about it? Oh, hell yeah. They say Janet Mills is too old. She's too old. And she's a Zionist. I don't know if this other guy is a Zionist. The Bill de Blasio guy. I don't know if he's a Zionist, but if he's a Democrat, it's likely. There's this double standard that they put away and take out just according to how they're feeling and who the candidate is. How he plans to challenge Dan Goldman, who has AIPAC backing and is the heir to the Levi Strauss fortune. Oh, is he rich? Are you rich, though, Brad? What's his net worth? Let's have a look. So, Brad Lander is estimated to be net worth is estimated to be between 2 and 5 million, primarily from his public service salary and real estate advocacy. He also manages pension funds, which contributes to his financial standing. Okay. That's not exactly a working class person, guys, if you want to compare the two, right? His response to lawmakers weaponizing anti-Semitism to further their pro-Israel agenda. And then this one, which is curious, why he won't divest public pension funds from Elbit Systems, Israel's largest weapons manufacturer, when he divested from Russian securities back in 2022. I don't care what his reason is. Fuck him. He's promised to stand up to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Ha! Ha! Sure. His response to the horrific anti-Semitic mass shooting in Australia and whether Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are the right leaders to fight back against Donald Trump. And I bet you he says, let's just stay where we are. I haven't watched it, and I'm not going to because I don't want to give Zateo my views, but also, why are you platforming the Zionist? He's still a Zionist. He's a Zionist. Is he going to keep Israel, honest? No. One guy, one supposed, he's not even anti-Zionist. If he was anti-Zionist, I might even say that. One of the supposedly most progressive members of any party or politics in America is Bernie Sanders, who only just started calling it a genocide. Come on. And just the not divesting from Elbit Systems. Fuck that guy. He also did divest from BlackRock, and they were investing in like businesses that were not climate friendly. But it did take a lot for him to divest from them. But yeah, platforming this guy, Zateo, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Absolutely. And here's a Rabbi Schlanger tweet which says, "Dear Father, putting on tefillin for soldiers as they go out to war." And here's some pictures of him, delegation to Israel. We cannot thank you enough for coming here. He delivered money and weapons. No, not money, weapons. Here, and somebody said, "Rotten hell pig." Someone said, "You'll be missed. Pray for all of us up there." He was murdered today in Bondi, and we will miss you deeply, mate. Your impact went far beyond what most people saw. A true source of light. Yeah, light. You can definitely see that Brad Lander is supporting this this scumbag Rabbi Eli Schlanger, who passed away and was murdered. He was murdered in Bondi. I'm not going to celebrate his death, but I'm not going to be sad either. He wanted Palestinians to die, children, Amalek, AI. He didn't think it was real. So Brad Lander is, as being the comptroller, he has invested money. And here's this one. This is a good meme because it's like, oh, they say that a female pilot is coming. I'm so glad that we're going to be murdered and, there's equality in the air for men and women. This one. They say Lander's investment in these drones is creating a windfall for NYC. And he's endorsed by Zoran. Really makes you feel like a part of history. Where's the lie? Because Brad Lander has invested money in Elbit Systems. So, Brad Lander dumped NYC pension funds into Elbit Systems. No way this dude is into BDS. But the line of attack is a fraught path for Lander for several reasons, including the fact that the city's public pension funds have, under his watch as comptroller, increased investment in Elbit Systems, the largest supplier of weapons to the Israel Defense Force. Records reviewed by the news show as recently as this past March, in fact, Lander touted that investment to an Orthodox Jewish radio host. So he also has invested in BlackRock, which is a fossil fuel company, and touting fossil fuel power rather than green power. That is only a few days ago. If he's going to talk about his own fucking climate initiatives, he didn't do it for New York. He had to. So as comptroller, he pushed for climate policies, including the city divesting itself from fossil fuels and expanding rooftop solar panels. Lander in late November recommended pension boards drop BlackRock, Fidelity, and Pan-Agora because of what he said were inadequate decarbonization plans. He was pushed to do that. He didn't do that on his own. Okay, so he did invest in Elbit Systems, and he did invest in other Israeli interests. He is supportive of Israel. So yeah, to choose Rabbi Eli Schlanger was bad, and then he had his launch. Okay. And his launch, who was at his launch but Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report. Let's go, Brad Lander, it says, with her and a picture of her and Brad, and then a picture of her and Matt from A Bit Fruity. That made me so sad because, one, Emma's program partner, but also Matt has been a leading voice in anti-Zionism work. Straight after October 7th, he was calling out people for being liberal Zionists. And now where he's promoting a liberal Zionist, Matt Bernstein, and Matt has done a couple of episodes on the anti-Semitism scare and he's done so much on anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism not being conflated. He's, done so much work to separate what it means to be a anti-Zionist Jew, and that there is no such thing as a good Zionist. And so to see this hypocrisy is just insane. So going back to this tweet, which was about Brad Lander dumped NYC pension funds into Albert system. No way this dude's into BDS. You claim your most important interview was with Dr. Tariq Lubani, a man who watched the life flicker out from the eyes of little kids in Gaza. But you're standing with a man who put money towards the weapons that made this possible. What's wrong with you? And that is a question to Emma Vigeland. And I didn't see that she answered these. And she doesn't like to be questioned like that. When she was being challenged with her Grand Platinum things, she was just so angry. She was like, you could see her bristling in her chair. And I saw that interview with Dr. Tariq Labani, and it was devastating. I covered it on my own channel because I thought it was so important. And I saw a video on that documentary of a nurse, a male nurse, singing to a baby who was crying in pain with burns all over her. And he was singing a lullaby because that's all they had. That's all they had to treat her. And looking at what has happened to those people and the children, knowing that there are so many children without parents and with multiple amputations, which they have had to do without anesthetic, without clean places to go. I've also done another video about an Australian doctor who was telling us about that. One of the doctors had to deliver a baby from a headless woman, and it's just horrific. And we have to witness these things to say we saw them and they were not okay. They are not okay. And if you are not doing something to try and stop it in any way that you can, then you're complicit. You cannot look away. You have to fucking do something with it. And that's what I thought that the Majority Report were doing. That's what I thought news outlets, like all of the ones that I've been criticizing, were doing. And then they fucking support Graham Plattner and they support Brad Lander, who's a fucking Zionist. He's part of the problem. There is no good Zionist. You cannot separate them. They are all bad. Not only that, the person who Brad Lander decides to martyr and lionize in death is a rabid, Zionist, bloodthirsty, genocidal fucking rabbi who was in Israel the day after October 7th to bless the IDF going in to shoot people, who was donating to them, who said that Palestinians dying and starving was AI, and that he believed in Amalek. Like there's 1 degree of separation from that, Emma. It's disgusting. This is more comments here. Isn't he still a self-proclaimed Zionist? Yes. Fuck Brad Lander and fuck you. Yes. Oh, look, that got some views. Really? This guy unfollowed. New under Brad Lander's management, NYC's public pension funds have seen windfalls from investing in Elbit, the Israeli military's primary arms producer. The second biggest pension fund even bought new Elbit shares in the past year as the Gaza war raged. So people in New York, your pension funds have increased because of the war in Gaza. Just crazy. You're an accomplice to genocide and belong in The Hague. Barr is under the fucking floor, huh? He's a genocide-denying Zionist, you stupid fucking asshole. And then this is a response to the Elbit systems. Emma, this man is literally facilitating the brutal murder of little kids in Palestine. What the fuck is wrong with you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually that you could stomach even standing next to him, let alone voting for him? Is careerism that important? Yeah. Zero principles detected. Yes, I'm a pro-Palestine leftist, and I love self-described Zionists. And if somebody criticizes me, I'm telling they are purity testing and infighting. If you had a conscience, you would have already blown your brains out in shame of who you are, Zionist. Blue MAGA will always bow down to Zionists and genocidal freaks. They don't want change. They want to be in control of maintaining the status quo. Holy shit, Emma. Now you support self-described Zionists? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? So this whole Free Palestine thing is just out the window for you? He is still a Zionist, which is a racist and genocidal ideology. The genocide in Gaza is ongoing, and Brad Lander reiterated publicly while it was in its worst days that he would never defund Israel. You're either delusional, ignorant, corrupt, or all three. Yeah. And then this is Matt Bernstein as well. Remember when you and your liberal Zionist friend Matt criticized Deborah Messing's liberal Zionism? And now you're supporting a proud liberal Zionist who has more blood on his hands than her. You and Matt are grifting Zionist dogs. And she did. Tensions rose last month when Brad Lander, the New York City comptroller, entered the mayoral race. Mr. Lander, who is Jewish, defines himself as a progressive Zionist and has called for a ceasefire while expressing concern for Israeli hostages and Palestinians. All it took, and so this is Nadine, who's an amazing activist in New York, and she has had some good things to say about, like, criticizing Zoran. All it took was a few lukewarm Zionists positioned slightly to the left of the unhinged Likudniks for the so-called left to forget that there is an ongoing genocide in Gaza and start to prove it never opposed Zionism, only it's bad PR. Yep. And this is Mamdani in somewhere paying his respects. Hang on. NYC Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani visited the Ohel of the Lubavitcher Rabbi in Queens this evening to pay his respects to the victims of the Bondi Beach terror attack. Mamdani also made a private prayer at the grave. I mean, that's not where the victims of Bondi are they? And then this was Nadine's response to it. This is deeply disturbing and not enough people are talking about it. Zoran Mamdani just went to the Lubavitcher Rabbi Ohel's in Queens, venerating the founder of the racist Zionist Chabad movement. The Rebbe's movement has a long history that should make anyone pause. In 1991, a car in his motorcade killed 7-year-old Gavin Cato, a black Caribbean child in Crown Heights. The first ambulance to arrive was Jewish Hatzalah, which took the Jewish driver and passengers before treating the child, who was killed by the motorcade. The Rabbi never apologized or took responsibility. Fast forward to April 2025, Chabad invited far-right Israeli minister Itamar Ben-Gvir to their Brooklyn headquarters. Outside, a mob of Orthodox men chanted "Death to Arabs," surrounded and chased a woman who they thought was a protester, threatened her with rape, kicked her, hurled cones and trash cans, and another Jewish supporter of Palestine was hospitalized with bloody head wounds. Hundreds followed her for blocks before police got her to safety. And I've seen video footage of that. That absolutely happened, and I didn't realize it was the same place where Zoran was. Like, they hosted Itamar Ben-Gvir. Like, he's the biggest boogeyman of all Israelis. And that whole fucking thing was insane. And Matt Bernstein covered it, and Bad Hasbro covered it. and now it seems like they're making excuses. Chabad Lubavitch is actively cheering on and materially supporting Israeli military. Branches have raised tens of thousands of dollars for the IDF. A Chabad charity in the UK was officially warned for buying military equipment for soldiers, and senior rabbis in Israel lobbied the government on war policies and settlements, framing military action as religiously mandated. Their Moshiach messaging and flags are everywhere on Israeli tanks in Gaza and across New York City's streets, signaling a messianic justification for this violence. So, Mamdani is venerating the leader of a sect that is politically and rabidly pro-Israel, has tolerated violent anti-Arab racism, never reckoned with a racist tragedy in its own motorcade, has materially and ideologically supported military operations in Gaza. Meanwhile, he hasn't said a word about Gaza since the ceasefire on October 10, even though around 400 Palestinians have been killed, including children and civilians. Our people are dying daily, and not a whisper. Yeah, that's kind of weird because he went to see Donald Trump in the White House. Could have talked about it then. Didn't seem to come up though, you know. Zoran dreaming big with Fran Drescher at the Mahdi Supreme premiere party tonight. Watching that man work a room is kind of a cinema into itself. See, the great man thing. It's the great man thing. He's a schmoozer. He's obviously fucking using his charm. A fake ceasefire happened, which gave you all the confidence to be open about the fact that you've always been fine with Zionists and welcomed them with open arms. Fran Drescher is a Zionist. He just wants to be a celebrity now. It's very clear. Nadine also, she shared the tweet about Brad Lander celebrating this Chabad dude and Zoran capitulating to, and then the globalizer, the Intifada. P.S. Zoran never said globalize the Intifada. He just said that people had the freedom to say it. Zoran capitulating on globalize the Intifada is what created the permission structure for all these Zionist talking heads to come out and attack the pro-Palestine movement for the Bondi Beach attack, by the way. Yep. The only way to combat anti-Semitism is to fight all systems of oppression, including Zionism and Islamophobia. Zionism is invested in anti-Semitism. It reproduces it through the violence it generates and then uses that anti-Semitism to justify its own existence. Boom! Drop the mic. That's fucking it right there. Post 10/7, there was a recognition that the rise in anti-Semitism didn't occur in a vacuum and didn't result from individual grievances against Jews, but was the result of a community who made genocide their entire identity. To say that the rise in anti-Semitism isn't connected to Israel is not being honest about the situation, you know. I think this is the last one. Oh no, yeah. This is the original quote here. They are not extremists like you. Why didn't you attack them for talking to Bernie or AOC? You want them to not talk to someone because of their identity? Lander did not help Zoran while you tried to destroy him. Lander did a lot to help Zoran while you tried to destroy him. You are a bigot. Lol. So if I go after Bernie and AOC, I'm a crank. And if I don't go after them, I'm a bigot. You know, you can just search their names on my profile and see what I've said about them, or better yet, just Google it since I've been calling them out long before I was active here. The liberal left media going all in on Graham Plattner just signaled to Mamdani that you don't need to be principled to get their support. What's the difference between a Graham Plattner and an IDF soldier voluntarily deployed to Gaza 4 times, who then cashes in on that experience through private security work, enforcing the occupation? Palestinians don't think Iraqi lives are worth less than ours. It's just that, right now, their suffering isn't the popular cause. Oh, yeah. Ceding ground to Tucker Carlson to Tucker fucking Carlson. Bravo. And that's from Jasper Nathaniel. At a certain point, the left cannot continue to complain about folks hailing Tucker Carlson and co. as brave voices speaking against the Gaza genocide. Yeah, because they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And they could. All right. So I'm so disappointed. I hope Matt Bernstein comes out and addresses this because he needs to. He needs to really look at what Zoran's doing as well. And because everybody's in this honeymoon period of saying, oh, he's so perfect and we love him. No, he's not perfect. He's been ceding ground, especially on Israel, the whole time that he's been running. The man used Palestine to get popular because it's clear it's a popular issue, and then started walking it back. And everybody seems to be walking back with him. They are not holding him to the same standard that they did with so many other politicians. And it's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Just because you like him doesn't mean that he can't be criticised. He absolutely can be and deserves to be. And it's disgusting that they're not doing their job, they're not doing their due diligence to report this. And it's terrible because their audiences are none the wiser. And that's why I have to make a video on my teeny little channel trying to yell loud enough to be heard. There should only be one goal, and that is ending the fucking genocide. And you can't end it by being soft with Zionists. There's no scale of Zionism that's okay. Rabid to soft. Nope. All Zionists, all Zionism is based on Israeli supremacy and annihilating and getting rid of Palestinians. And if you're not going against that, then you're supporting it. And that might be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. And it's not too late to turn around and start fucking talking about the truth of all this. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I've been talking for a long time. And yeah, fuck Brad Lander and anybody who's supporting him. And big ups to Nerdine Kaswani. Amazing. She is an amazing creator, Palestinian, somebody who's actually speaking the truth out there. So it's good. We need to listen to those voices and not just the people with the most followers, people with the most influence on YouTube. Wish they could just, it's just so frustrating because you know that they have recognized this sort of like soft peddling Zionism before and now they're just not calling it out. All right. Thanks for watching. If you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.